Yes, guys and girls, this is episode 45. Welcome to Creating Walls, the podcast. We want to say thank you for listening, and this week, guess what we're doing? Yep, that's right. We're talking about heaven, but not a theological discussion about heaven. We're talking about heaven as, I guess, we imagine it. We ask questions about what we think heaven looks like. Are there going to be dogs in heaven? Is there sex in heaven? Is there marriage in heaven? Is whatever going on in heaven? Justin just talks about his blog in the beginning, and we want to say go check it out. The title of this blog is Faggot, Queer, and Sissy Boy, and let's just say go and read it and check it out. At the end, Keith gives us some Halloween spooks because this weekend is Halloween, so happy Halloween. Check out his story time at the end, and always we want to thank you for listening to the show because this week is episode 45. We're almost a year in, and for all those who've been listening since the beginning, we want to say thank you because we can't do it without you. So we appreciate it. We love you. And like we always say, man, you are the reason we're doing this. We love you people. Now, it's time for Dustin. Hey, guys and girls. Welcome to Forgetting Walls, the podcast, episode 45.
45?
45. 5 more to be 50.
That's right. Getting up there.
Man, think about it. At 51, we'll be done it for a year. Been done it.
Yeah, we're getting up on a year now.
That's right, man. It won't be long before me and you, Justin, are staring down that old pipe of, wow, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Can you believe it? We've almost made it a whole year.
Yeah, it's crazy because it seems like we've been doing this, like, I know we've been doing it for like almost a year, but it's on one hand, it doesn't seem like we've been doing that long. On the other hand, it kind of does.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot of time commitment and a lot of effort and we put a lot into making this and trying to make this, good. Maybe not professional, but at least trying to make it something worth listening to. Yeah,
I think when I'm able to get into the new spot and then I can set everything up and have things, run a little bit more professionally instead of doing it from here to there, things might change a little bit. And then I'll have a house to work out of and stuff, so it'd be nice.
Right. It's been sort of a mobile type setup for the past year.
Yeah, pretty much.
We've been everywhere.
I know. We have recorded in all kinds of different places.
Yeah, but we've made it work, and I'm proud of us.
Yes, we have stuck to it. We have stuck to our guns no matter if we only have 5 people listening to us.
That's not true. That's not freaking true. We have more people listening to us. Maybe not a few of the people on this podcast, but at least we have other people listening to us.
Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. I like the girls. Who cares? Oh, I'm sorry. That's New Edition.
I have no idea what you're talking
about. My gosh, I forgot. I just dated myself. For all the people who listen to the podcast that are over the age of,
I was born in 1990, so.
Yeah, that was way before you. No, it wasn't. It was right about. Nah, never mind.
I was an infant, though.
You remember Bill Biv DeVoe, don't you?
Who now?
I think that was the Magic card player. Yeah.
Anyways, Justin,
boys, right?
you and David up in the cold air this week.
We are. It's pretty frigid up here. Just kind of overnight, the temperature dropped significantly. And so I think the high today was about like 46, something like that.
That's not cold.
Lucky.
So, I mean, I really like the cold, but I know that in a few days / months, I'm not going to be of the same attitude about that. Yeah, what do you think, David?
Yeah, so speaking of hell, that's it's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
I agree with you, David.
You want to trade places, David?
I like the cold.
No, I don't like the cold. Cold is... See, that's the thing. People's like, hell's going to be hot. I'm like, I'll be all right. As long as it's not cold.
It's like, hell is like sending me to Antarctica. It's like, no, bruh, that's rough. Can't do that. Anyways, it's good to see the Boone team, the Mountain Boys, the Mountain Pride, on the other side. On our side, down at the coast.
What's that? Was that your cue for me to say something?
I don't know. I didn't know whether to do that or do this.
De bandera del muchacho se la dio con dos amigos.
Cheese and rice, man.
You gotta love it, and hope that was for you, because I know you want to hear it every episode now.
At least so.
And we have the ever sarcastic, the ever optimistic.
Where did that one come from?
I wanted to lie on the podcast a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess it was your turn.
Yeah, it was.
I'm enjoying a nice homemade cafe mocha.
No, that's great. It smells chocolatey over here.
That's the mocha.
Is that just chocolate and coffee?
No, it's like a chocolate powder that you stir into a syrup and then coffee and a little bit of milk.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good.
It smells good. Yeah.
I went on a whim. I just felt like something sweet and sugary, so I made it.
There you go.
Adulthood.
Right.
Hey, there's coffee in it, okay? I'm being risky. It's like 8:30 at night and drinking coffee.
Ooh, that's
Dude, better
that
get
is
to bed on
risky,
time
man.
still.
No, that's what the melatonin's for.
I have to do decaf after like 8. So.
But I can't say that. I was going to say something I should not say.
We all know you well enough to know what you were going to say.
You have no idea what I was going to say.
I don't know you well enough. You want to inform me?
No, I don't.
You don't want to know.
Anyways, we had a special something happen this week, which I'm kind of happy that it happened, because it doesn't happen often as much as, and that's something, Justin. We've been doing this for 45 weeks now.
Yeah.
And we always said we wanted to release like a blog or two a month. We haven't come nowhere close to that. Failing to meet that obligation, Justin, of getting those two.
We failed so terribly at that. I mean, partially it's my fault, because I have a lot of blogs and I have a lot of things and like ideas around. It's just with either schoolwork or work. I've found all these excuses to put off writing, which is terrible, because writing is one of my favorite things to do. And I've actually had this blog done for almost 2 months or so. But I never found a way to finish it or to kind of wrap up what I really wanted to say in it. And so I just sat down and look, I'm going to do this. And plus, this blog is also very, very personal to me. It has a lot of personal details, which I haven't really told anyone, let alone let, strangers on the internet read. So it was really intimidating and frightening, but I feel like I needed to at least put it out there.
Yeah, I remember getting the first draft of it this past week, and I saw the title. So if you don't know what we're talking about, Justin did release a new blog post this week. And if you're a listener of ours, you already know that it was released, because even though there's more than 5, there's less than 100. I'm going to bank on that one.
I concur.
Maybe. We don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out, so it doesn't matter. But he released a blog post this week, and I got the first draft, and I think everybody in the group got it, and the title was Faggot, Queer, and Sissy Boy.
Had to say that quick, didn't you?
Well, it's the title, and
it's a title, and it is. I struggled with kind of coming up with the language I wanted to use there, and I used it very intentionally, because those are things that I was called and bullied with, and a lot of things that I heard. I heard that a lot growing up, going to school, and so I didn't want to mince words. I didn't want to, do a disservice by beating around the bush, and so I used the words, and I mean, I'm happy with the way it turned out. I'm very intentional. I know those are very strong words and words that have caused people a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. But I think ignoring them, and it's almost like Voldemort. Well, that was my thought about it. By avoiding using the word, and
right,
you almost give more power to it.
Right.
And I didn't use the word casually or just sling it around or use it in a demeaning way. I used it literally just to describe what people called me, because that's what happened.
Right. Well, it was, for me, it was, of course, when I read it the first time, when you sent me the first draft, I read it, and I followed along, and I was like, okay, now what do I think about this? And I said, well, let me read it again. That's when you sent the final copy of it.
Right.
And when I finished it, my thought is that as personal as it was, I mean, I really knew what you were going for. It was kind of open yourself up so people can kind of see who you are as a person. But for me, it was more of, okay, I'm using this language to express, my life to other people so they can see that they're not alone in their struggles, whether they do identify with these words or they don't identify with these words.
Exactly.
So go ahead.
I think that was a big thing for me. So if you haven't read it, go read it. But in short, basically growing up, me as a person, I never really had a lot of masculine traits. If you read it, I give plenty of examples of why that's the case. But growing up, because of that, I was labeled as sissy and, queer, and, that people thought I was gay. It was in the 5th grade. I remember it was the first time someone asked me if I was gay, and I didn't even really know what that meant. And so as I've gotten older and going out throughout school, that was a common thing that people would tell me is, well, you're, a fag, you're gay, all that. And it got to me, and I didn't know what to think about that. I was like, are they right? Because when everyone around you is telling you that, it makes you think that maybe they're right about that. So I went through this long struggle of, trying to figure out, what was my sexual orientation? Was I gay? That would explain a lot, because I really didn't have any, romantic interests, or I didn't like any girls. When people go up and like, oh, who do you have a crush on? My answer, I would always struggle with that. And I'm like, no one. They're like, oh, come on, you have to like someone. And I was like, not really. And then, people thought that was weird. And I'm like, well, this, am I gay? Is that why? And I just don't know, And so it came through. It was a lot of me struggling through that, and coming to realize that I wasn't, but that didn't mean that I could separate myself from that community, and that I go through more in the blog, and you can read it to get a better sense of that, because I'm a much better writer than I am a speaker. But yeah, I didn't want it to be a tale of, oh, woe is me, look at all the things that I've been through and how terrible my life is, feel bad for me. No, it's not about me. I wanted people who may have gone through similar experiences or similar things to be able to read it and take hope in that. And that those words and those things, even if you do identify, if those things do describe you as being, gay or lesbian or whatever, if that is actually, a part of who you are, unlike it was for me, that there's still hope, and it gets better.
Yeah, I would tend to add on that too, that even though you were speaking from, more of a gender issue, a sexuality issue, and things of that nature, I think across the board, bullying, it needs to be talked about anyways, because I was bullied as a kid. You guys see me now as maybe bigger, and sometimes some people see me intimidating, but that wasn't me as a kid. You know, I was tall, but I was like a beanpole. I remember in high school, I was like, I remember when I hit 6'1", and I was like 110 pounds. So I was like super skinny, right? Jeez. But when I was younger, I was always skinny when I was younger. Like a little skinny kid. Yeah. And, man, dudes used to push me around, pick on me, take my money and stuff. I was that kid, and it sucked. Same now, here. Of course, they didn't have an issue with me. They didn't throw out, of course, saying words like faggot and queer and gay and stuff like that when I was coming through school was not something normal, because that really wasn't something that was thought about. And plus, that could have never been said about me, because most of the time I got pushed around because I was taking another dude's girl. But maybe that's why I got beat up so much when I was younger. But it was always bullying. It was always somebody bigger, somebody who had to prove a point, and that's like, you're proving your point against a guy who's like 5 times smaller than you. It's like what,
Right.
and my thing is that I was poor. So people picked on me, and it wasn't just being pushed around, but people always picked on me because I didn't have the name brand shoes, or, you know, my jeans were a little too short because parents didn't have the money to buy them. And of course I didn't have any name brand clothes. So, I mean, it pushes people. I mean, you think about, you're talking about it from a standpoint of like, you know, homosexuality and sexuality and genders and how that makes people feel. But people tend to forget just bullying in general is like a really, really harsh thing to do to somebody because it puts you in dangerous places. I mean, I've attempted, you know, to kill myself. I've attempted to run away, and well, I didn't attempt to run away. I did run away, but you get all these thoughts in your head, and you do those things because you feel like you're not worth anything, and like you just want to hide from people. And then you get to that point where you think, man, I just want to kill myself and get out of this because I can't take the pressure anymore. Right. You know, and it's that, I mean, I'm not saying that's a ridiculous thought, but it's ridiculous that we have those thoughts because of other people doing that. You know, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I went through a very similar experience where I went through that exact thing, partially because of that. So I'm right there with you.
So if we don't say nothing else, don't bully people. Don't pick on people. I mean, all right, look, it's one thing to joke amongst your friends. We all have friends that we joke with, and we have little inside jokes and stuff, and we understand that. But when you're just specifically picking on somebody because of the way they, you know, dress or their background, whether socially or economically, or whether it's their sexuality, their gender, I mean, whatever it is, you shouldn't do that because you're really messing with things that you don't know what you're messing with. I mean, I used to tell this one guy, I was like, don't pick on that kid. Don't pick on that kid. He's going to snap. I was like, you don't pick on that kid. We was in the military. And he kept picking, this one dude kept picking on him. And eventually that kid stabbed that other dude.
Oh.
I was like, you don't know who you're messing with. You're going to set that.
That's,
I mean, you know, I've seen it happen so many times where you push somebody to a limit, whether they can kill themselves, they can kill somebody else, they can kill the person that's picking on them. Or they can seriously do some damage somewhere, and you can push somebody to a point where it can be very dangerous. And I think for us, you know, as people who have been bullied, people who've been pushed around, is to speak out and say, look, you know, even though we might not identify with, you know, you individually and what you're going through, we are here. We know some of the circumstances that you've run into, and that's why you wrote your blog post, not to be offensive, not to hurt anybody else, but to say, look, I know what it's like to be on the outside, to be outcasted, to be bullied.
right. Exactly.
And anyways, you got to go read it. If you haven't read it yet and you've listened to the podcast, go over to the site, check it out. It's on the blog. You can see it on our Facebook. Click on it, share it, like it, do whatever you want, but just take a good long minute to read it.
Yeah, and it's actually been spreading really quickly too. A lot of people have been sharing it, and it's getting out there, which is it's a little bit terrifying if I'm honest, because like I said, it's very personal. But just how quickly things can spread, it's just like whoa.
Well, I keep telling you, Justin, if you keep writing, we'll get more people to the page. But you don't listen.
I'll work on it.
And yes, David, your Facebook message, you can submit blog post.
Awesome. I just drafted one. I'm waiting for Justin to approve or read it.
Sweet. Send it down. I'd love to see it too.
All right.
But saying all that, we do have to talk about a couple of little things that are a little less serious.
All right.
Being that Chris is going to lose in fantasy football this week.
Yeah, I don't know what your kicker is doing, but he's doing more than both of our wide receivers.
That's what I'm talking about.
Steve Smith is straight sucking.
Keith, you had a trip to the mountains?
I did. I went to see our good friends Hope and Alan.
Yes.
Had a blast.
Don't forget Baby Sawyer.
Yeah, I got saw Sawyer growing up, maturing. It was a good time. It was a good time.
That's good. Well, everybody's back. We'll just call it the regular crew is back, and we are so happy that you're listening with us. Like I said, man, we had a great weekend. I think everybody... Did y'all have a good weekend, David and Justin?
Yeah, I had a great weekend.
Yeah, me too.
Chris, did you have a pretty good weekend?
Yeah, the Panthers won.
Yeah.
I mean, can't complain with more than that.
Yeah, Dallas lost. I'm happy.
Yep. If only the Jets could have came out on top. Taking the Patriots down.
No, I don't care about the Jets. But anyways, I had a great weekend too. I got to see Wolves at the Gate. Oh my gosh, so freaking good.
So jealous.
Oh my gosh. Just I want to go back and relive it just like over and over, but I can because my daughter recorded everything from the show. Anyways, guys and girls, we appreciate that you're with us. We'll be back in a minute because we are talking about heaven this week, and I really don't know where that's going to go. So stay tuned. We'll see you in a minute. And we're back, and that was Crooks from the UK with A Few Peaceful Days.
Crooks.
Yes, it's good stuff. That was another recommendation now from David. We appreciate that.
I'm pretty stoked on them. They're coming out with an album October 30th. Are we all the same distance apart? And I'm going to cry while I listen to it because it's already so beautiful. Yes.
Well, with that kind of recommendation, I will definitely be listening to it as well. I mean,
I think the only album that's ever made me cry is Radiohead's self-titled.
I don't know. Sufjan has made me tear up a few times.
I never listened to Sufjan Stevens.
His new Carrie and Lowell. Oh, it's so sad, but it's so good. It's like if you want to feel sad and have a good cry.
Exacerbation.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had Aaron Hall, maybe some good old R&B when he wrote the song about his wife dying. That one choked me up a little bit. Tedashi's song about his son after he died.
Oh, speaking of that, King's Kaleidoscope, Zion.
Yeah.
Oh.
It more has to be like a sad emotional thing for me to even get me there. But then again, it usually doesn't. So,
do you feel emotions, Keith?
Well,
Hunger.
Is that an emotion?
An emotion?
It leads to a emotion.
Well, it does.
I want to go back to the hotel.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's funny, Chris. Yeah, I do get a little testy when I'm hungry. Yeah, so it's it can get interesting when I get hungry. Let's just say that. So
well, you know where a place is where hunger will never be a thing anymore.
Yes, I do.
Your thirst will be satisfied.
I believe I know that place. Isn't that like Taco Bell?
I thought it was Disneyland.
Arby's.
San Antonio Taco Company.
Barely.
Oh my goodness. Yes, and Justin is referring to heaven.
Yes.
As we get into our segment about heaven, today's Meat and Potatoes is brought to you by Harps and Clouds, where none of us will have when we get there. You know, I was thinking about heaven, and I was thinking about the Bible, and I was thinking about, well, how many times is heaven really described in the Bible? And I can only think of one place like there's an actual vision of heaven. And that would be in,
very few times.
Yeah, and Revelation is one of the places that I think is talked about the most as far as of a vision.
Yep.
So I figured what I would like to do is just kind of, let's just think, what do you think heaven's going to be like? You know, whether it can be from your presuppositions of the Bible, your presuppositions of, you know, mass media. You know, what does heaven look like to you, Justin?
Okay, starting with me.
Why not?
All right, let's go for it. Heaven to me is, or at least the heaven of the afterlife that we will one day go to. I think is, again, like you said in Revelation, where the new heavens and the new earth, where everything is reconciled in Christ and they are brought together. I think what we define as heaven, I think it's less of a place where we go, like we escape to, like when we die, and rather, I think heaven will be here on earth. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we miss, is that we will be here. I think that we will be with God fully, and we will understand Him fully, which is crazy. And that I think that we will actually have stuff to do, too. It's not just us singing hymns around Jesus or around the Father all day. Even though I bet that's still spectacular. But from our perspective on Earth, let's be honest, that sounds kind of boring. But I think that we'll have things to do, and that we will have work, but work won't be tiresome. We will, actually do things and talk with one another and have relationship with one another that's not broken, that's not fractured by sin, that's whole and complete and intimate in that way. So that's what I think heaven is like. And in the sake of eternal, it's not like, I think we mentioned this last week, it's not just like going on and on and on forever, like day after day after day, but it's like a timelessness of it. So
okay,
that everything is present at the same moment.
You looking at me?
Oh, whoever wants to chime in.
I mean, I pretty much agree fully with what Justin just said.
Okay.
Well, hey there.
Yeah. Doesn't happen too often, but yeah.
I know, right?
no.
What is this?
No disagreement with.
I'm waiting for the
anything
but.
he just said.
There has to be a but here. You can't fully agree with Justin. That doesn't happen.
It sounds like he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what am I doing wrong then?
Oh my gosh. If we could throw darts. Well, Chris, you want to break the monotony of agreeing?
Yeah, I can do that. No problem. Well, I kind of have two opinions. One's more of my whimsical side, and one's kind of more of a hopeful side. The whimsical side of me kind of goes like Bill and Ted, which ironically I just got that shirt, which made me think of it. Where, when they go to heaven and they're just kind of hanging out and everything's just all almost goofy and chill. But it's like the super exaggerated idea of heaven. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I would like to see in a way. But the more realistic side of me is just a place where there's just nothing but love. And a kind of love that doesn't get screwed up by human emotions and confusion and misunderstandings and obligation. Just straight up love. There's nothing but. In like the pure Bob Marley sense of the word.
So everybody's smoking a doobie.
Hey, if Shaggy and Scooby can do it, why can't God?
Interesting. David, how do you want to chime in on that?
Well, I as much as I'd want to think about heaven as a future destination, I can't help but think that we get a little piece of heaven here on earth. Especially knowing God. If you know God, if you're in the scriptures, that means you're hearing him talk and he's living and he's with you constantly. If you're praying, you're in constant conversation with him. And if you're worshiping, as Jesus says, you worship in spirit and truth, it's an unfiltered experience that you have with God. So I really want to focus more on heaven is, it's here and now in a sense. Just being in a constant connection with God that is kind of filtered right now, but in worship, it's fully unadulterated and beautiful. And I think I'm enjoying my worship with God right now, being imperfect and resting in his grace right now. And I'm enjoying that. But then eventually in the future, where we get this new heaven and this new earth, and that comes to us and we're married with God, in Jesus in the full extent of the word. I like thinking about, let's see, my favorite vision of heaven right now is like me laying on the softest grass ever, looking up at the cosmos, and then looking to my right, and who's laying beside me, and it's my Jesus. And just thinking about that is just something I probably can't wrap my head around fully, but just being with my God completely in spirit and truth constantly, not just singing or playing music or singing in a choir, but everything you do in word or deed, it's worship. Therefore, God will be with you always.
Right.
Mm.
And I agree with you on the point that like heaven, like in some respects, is here and now. I mean, Christ said the kingdom of heaven is within you, and I think and then this is going to get kind of spiritual and Christianese quick, but I think through the church, that the church is or should be the manifestation of the kingdom of heaven on earth at this time until the day that the two are wed. How well that's done, that's a whole nother topic. But I totally agree with that we do get glimpses of heaven. And that's something that's one reason why I still have faith, is that I still see these glimpses of heaven and that taste, just that tiny bit of bliss. And it's like, I can't imagine what it'll be like in the future, and my hope for that and my faith that in Christ. And so that's, I totally agree with you there.
Super cool.
Yeah, I get the whole taste of heaven, because I mean, this is... Yes, I get my glimpse of heaven in a little less than 2 months. I'm sorry, I had to go there. For me, it's difficult because I've been through so many. I mean, of course, I'm the old guy on the podcast, but I've been through so many different understandings of heaven. Like we talked about hell, I've seen so many different interpretations, heard so many different ideas, and what people think it's going to be and what it's going to look like, and of course, mass media producing this image of hell or heaven. And when I think about heaven, I'm like, man, what does it really look like? Of course, for me, I agree. There's this. The new Jerusalem, the new earth, the new heaven, the whole spectacular description that we see in Revelation. But at the same time, there's this, I don't want to call it mystic or mythic type of hope for heaven, that there's going to be, it's going to be, so much better than what we can ever imagine. Like, say, well, there's not this destination, it's here. But to invoke that word here gives me like chills, and not the good kind of chills. It's like, it's got to be more than this, because it's got to be so perfect. It's got to be so great and so beyond my comprehension that saying here would not be able to do it justice for a million years. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I've got to supersede that, because, I mean, you think about it. There's no, like, and I hate calling the sun artificial light, but next to God, that's what it is to me. Mm-hmm. And God, the Son, the Lamb, is the light that gives, this glorious, or this radiance to heaven, to whatever heaven really is. I'm just going to describe that. I don't know, but if it is this place where we're living together and we're working and it's the perfection that God intended in the beginning that we screwed up, that He had to save us from, that's what heaven is supposed to be, then I'm down for it. Because that's what I think. When God created the garden and He put Adam in the garden, that was paradise. That was intended to be that perfect place for him. And now He has to destroy it all and make new because of what, sin did.
Okay.
So it's got to be better than the garden. I mean, that's my mentality. We can conjure up images of a street of gold that goes through the middle of, and then you've got these dimensions. I mean, you got to think about what John was writing about there. I mean, he was very specific in these things.
Cubits, man.
I know, man. I'm like, there it is. And then it's square. It's rectangular in shape. It's not this globe or sphere. that we're dealing with now. I mean, it's there's so much that goes into it. I mean, we can do so much speculation and mystical and mythical type of, images about heaven, which is fine because I got a lot of questions tonight. I mean, if you're listening tonight, this is not going to be the theology episode.
No.
This is going to be
speculation.
Yeah, and we're just going to have fun with it tonight. And we'll get into the theology of heaven and all those different things next week. Right. But this week we just wanted to be a little bit lighter. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to be debating about what we believe about heaven this week.
You're wrong. I think you're wrong.
You think I'm wrong?
I think you're wrong.
Why do you think I'm wrong?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just do.
You suck, Keith.
I've heard that before.
Why do you think I'm wrong?
I don't. I was just disagreeing with you just
I know.
to prove you wrong.
And we call Chris the pessimistic one.
I ain't said nothing. I was just going to let that play out.
All right, so let me throw out some questions and see what y'all think, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about heaven. And heaven, in everybody's eyes, is whether it's a destination we're going to go to or if it's here, we all agree to some sense that it is a perfect place. No flaws, nothing's wrong there. Everything is perfect. Would we agree to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a yes, sorry. That sounded more like a meh.
Really? Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of different speculations about, what's going to go on in heaven. And we kind of talked about some of the things we think that's going to be going on in heaven. Mm-hmm. Relationships. Do they look the same?
No.
Not really. Kind of, but not really.
Well, let me hear Chris's point of view.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but 100% of my relationships on Earth have been super messy and complicated and just annoying, almost to the point where I don't want to maintain most of them. Why would I want to be in a place where they're still like that?
Okay, that's an interesting way to take. An interesting take on relationships. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You said no too, Keith.
I think they'll be very similar to what we have now, but just perfect. And certain relationships won't exist in the same form. Jesus talks about there not being marriage in heaven, and that's more of a theology thing, I know. But
right.
But I think generally interpersonal contact between humans will be at its base level the same. It just will be functionally different because
it'll be literally functional and not dysfunctional.
Well, yeah, like what Chris is saying. Yeah.
What do y'all think about relationships in heaven?
You first, Justin.
All right. Well, I kind of would go on the same line where, a lot of our relationships we have today, whether it's with our friends, family, romantic relationships, there's something wrong with them. They're never perfect. And I think, that has to do with who we are and how we are, broken, and how we are oftentimes very selfish and have those tendencies and have these miscommunications between us. And I think that in heaven, in the perfected, realm, and with our perfected bodies and our understanding of God and who He is, that our relationships will look different because they'll be perfect, like they said. And being in the full knowledge of God, that I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that right now, even as I say it. But I'm questioning, will those relationships even matter, like in the same way as they do to us now? Will it be like, because I think that we all put a very, very heavy emphasis on relationships. I know I do. Like my friendships and, my ties to my family and stuff are very strong, and that's what I put a lot of emphasis on, is my relationship with other people. But I'm trying to think that, in the presence of God, of a perfect and holy being, like, will there be that same emphasis on relationships at all? Or will we be totally content being in Him, resting in Him? So that's kind of where I am with that.
Okay. It's interesting.
Thanks. I guess.
Yeah, I guess I kind of mirror everything everybody else has been saying. Heaven's perfection, incarnate. And I'm just thinking about the bride, which is the church, and God coming to meet us, that unveiling at the marriage, where just everything that's held us back is being taken off, and we see our Creator and the perfect lover face to face. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I think that'll be the craziest moment ever, is that unveiling and actually seeing the face of God for the first time. But everything else, I mean, I completely agree with, but I think that's just a total mind-bending thought that I wanted to share.
Interesting as well. I like them. I like everything everybody's saying, because for me it's hard for me because I've taught a few different things, because, you know, as you grow and you learn and you move through scripture and you go, oh, this, and I'm thinking, well, you know, are we, you know, because he talks about all of us being brothers and sisters in Christ, right? So we get there and it's like, okay, so everyone who's in Christ is there now in this new relationship as this like one gigantic big family of God, right? So we're all in relationship that way. And then of course Jesus speaks about no marriage and in heaven, and I'm like, okay. And then you hear people talk differently about, you know, concepts of heaven, and I'm thinking, I don't know what relationships are going to really be like. You know, it's like kind of like David. I'm just thinking, you know, and everybody kind of pointed to it and alluded to it in some way. It's just, you know, if you're there with God, that one relationship, I mean, it kind of, I don't know, for me, it's like the only thing that really matters. And everything just kind of falls into place where everybody is focused on that relationship because they're in his presence. And whatever that looks like, we don't know. And it just runs in such a perfect, fluid, you know, motion that you kind of forget and I hate to call it the mundaneness of what relationships take here on earth, you know, or in this time. And it just, relationships kind of don't matter, but they do. And that, I don't know if that makes sense to you. Like, the relationships you have with everybody here it's not that it's going to look different. It's just, it doesn't mean the same thing there.
Right. It's icing on the cake at that point.
Right. Now, I know this is silly, but I like to throw these questions out because it's fun.
Yeah, go for it.
Sex in heaven?
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it. I was waiting for it.
What would be the
If you
purpose?
weren't, I was going to bring it up anyway.
Because it's great?
Well, I've
But that's not its primary purpose.
read and listened to a few perspectives on sex in heaven. I mean, obviously, we know there's not marriage in heaven.
Right.
Now, again, that doesn't necessarily mean, because I think everything will be so different. I mean, you can't rule out sex in heaven. I don't think there will be, though.
Right.
And a general thought among a lot of people who are a lot smarter than I am on it is that what we don't know is what there's going to be that's better.
Right.
So it's like, okay, well, sex is one of the ultimate pleasures on earth. Mm-hmm. But in this sort of new realm, there's probably a lot of things that are way, way, way better.
Right.
So we probably won't miss it at all.
Okay. No, I like that. I mean, it's a good question to talk about. David, what do you think?
Okay. Well, talking about the marriage of God and the bride, the church, again, you know, what's our wedding night going to be like? I honestly think, you know, whenever heaven and earth pass away and then this new creation, it comes together and collides together, and we're married to God. We are joined to God. We are in, you know, one flesh, spiritually speaking. It'll be pretty orgasmic, if I do say so myself. I think that'll be an experience that's like, it's everything that we could experience on earth magnified. Maybe it's not done away with. Maybe sex isn't done away with completely, or maybe the feeling of sex is still there. I'm not sure, but it's everything we want magnified. It's everything that we can do in a holy, just atmosphere to the nth degree. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
Okay.
I mean, I love you, David, but at the same time, I really hate you because you always say the thing that I'm about to say right before I say it. Pretty much everything David just said. That's what I think.
Sweet.
There's no way. There's nothing I can add because that was my exact thought. So,
Okay.
ditto.
Ditto.
It's my third favorite Pokemon.
Oh my goodness.
I'm blushing.
You kind of are. You got little rosy cheeks going on up there.
I do.
Sex in heaven, Chris. What do you think?
I don't see what the point would be. I always understood it as it was kind of made for reproduction, and
Will there be reproduction in heaven?
I thought that was the point of Earth. So I mean, heck, there might be reproduction in heaven. Who knows?
We don't. Nobody knows really anything.
That would be pretty cool. You could just have factories of it.
I would bet to say no, as far as the act. But man, I'm just thinking, you got a perfect place, and you got something that's so great.
Maybe what it is some of us, not all of us, not going to group us all together. The general feeling that comes along with the act, maybe that's kind of in the not same emotional context, but the same kind of physical feeling you'll get in the presence of God. That just overall awesomeness. Maybe that's what it is.
So you're saying we'll just be having orgasms 24/7?
Maybe. Who knows?
I don't know if I can handle that.
But you'll be perfect, so it won't matter. Your body won't fade away after that. You can just take it forever.
What was that, David?
Trying to link our last series with this series.
There you go.
Got you covered.
Heaven. So, okay, so sex, and I did ask about reproduction, which, I mean, that's kind of, just silliness. But now, Justin, you spoke about work. We're talking about, work in heaven. How do y'all feel about working in heaven?
It won't be the same 9-to-5 crap we do today. Which, thank God for that. It'll be, I don't know, how do they say it? The good work?
I don't know. I'm just like,
Say it now.
of course, nothing will look the same. And like I said, this is just being totally speculative. Speculative. There you go.
And the reason I say work, one, because, and this is very, very from a human point of view, that it does sound rather boring just to, be up in heaven with harps all the time and just singing and all that stuff. Like, what if you don't sing well? What if that's not your talent?
It's
and
heaven,
so for
you're
me,
perfect.
On an anecdote, who says boredom's going to exist? Because boredom's kind of a negative thing to be in a perfect
I know,
place.
and that's why I said I'm speaking from a very humanly perspective.
Yeah.
How I missed that.
And I think for me, having work and using our talents, what God gifted us with to begin with, how he created us, and sharing with one another and doing, and it all being an act of worship and being selfless and living perfectly, like we are now, but in a totally perfect way that it's hard to wrap your mind around. It might be idealistic, but that's more what I see.
Okay. Well, and I guess it just depends on what you think. Ultimately, what you see heaven really to be. Mm-hmm. Is it this new earth and new heaven that we exist in? And I want you to think about this. We're not getting into a lot of theological discussion, but he gives specific measurements to this new earth, this new Jerusalem, and it's like
Big,
crazy,
large,
Yeah.
And but then you think about the number of people, and you're like,
massive.
man, but
Gargantuan.
Okay.
It's always me.
And if it's really that, or is it really this place where it's just a great cloud of witnesses, gathered around God and constantly singing?
Did you say
praises?
cloud?
The great cloud of witnesses.
Don't know what that is.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Bible verse.
Yeah.
It's a, yeah.
It's just a reference.
It's a, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a yeah.
I don't know really what it means either. It's just
Yeah.
like a big group.
Yeah, it's like
I'll just stay ignorant on that one.
massive groups of people just there in front of God and just holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty.
Holy gaggle.
Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. You know, could it be that?
Why not both? And then everybody heralds the little girl.
Yeah.
rolling her over the air. Yep. Why not both?
Tacos.
I mean, potentially. I mean, I can see that. Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. I just want to throw it out there, man, because of course, I always said, you know, we're not going to be, like you said, Justin, we're not going to be floating around on clouds playing little harps. I think that's just a bunch of baloney. I don't think that's legitimate or realistic. I mean, of course, it never mentions that anywhere in Scripture to allude to that at all.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be some, you know, we're all wearing white robes and, you know, whatever that looks like. We're definitely not going to be angels. So if anybody's listening to the podcast, let me debunk one thing. I don't believe that anybody will turn into an angel, because that's just like, why?
No, I'll be totally cool if I'm not an angel. That's fine. I just want to be able to float or fly. That would be that'd be
Yes, I'm with you 100% there.
I mean-
I want to fly so badly.
I would like to see it from God's perspective, the earth. That would be cool.
But see,
You know,
that's,
Yeah.
just above.
but see, I
To
think
fly above the mountains, the perfected earth, the mountains and the sea. Well, no, there's not going to be water. Dang it.
Yep.
Dang it.
no separation.
Yeah. Well, the mountains and just the perfected earth and being
But
with
see-
God and flying and just
Fly into the Mariana Trench because there's no water.
But there's no Mariana Trench. This earth is gone.
Fly
I think
in.
I think those are the things that you miss, is that if it is a new heaven and a new earth, and there is no formless voids with separation that is caused from the seas, then you have something that's so totally different that we are thinking still from this human perspective that what we're looking at this heaven, that this place that will be, you know, this new earth is going to be so drastically different. I used to ask this question. I'll say this, okay? So John gives these measurements, and he gives these measurements that are in a, let's just say, cube-ish measurements, okay?
yeah.
Metric.
No.
Cube.
Isn't that metric?
No.
No, cube like shape of a cube.
Oh, okay.
Not cubits. Cube. Which they were given in cubits, but what I'm saying, the shape is a cube.
That is metric though, right? Cubits.
Cubits is not
No.
metric nor empirical.
Man, I'm just sucking everything.
It predates
Yeah, it predates both.
metric.
And I used to get very science fictionist with these because it's fun. But like I said, we'll have fun tonight. If you think about a shape of a cube, right?
Right.
All right. Wouldn't that be, you know, no gravity? Because you think about gravity being at the center of things like the earth, and it pulls everything together, and it causes things to be spherical.
It would still have gravity because it still has mass.
But we're dealing in, I mean, follow me though. Okay.
How could a
No,
cube
yeah.
have gravity?
Still has mass. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah,
that has
but if
mass
it
has
was-
gravity.
Yeah.
But then
exactly.
wouldn't it end up being spherical in time because everything pulls to the center? So there would be points of the cube that have less or more gravity, and that would just be wonky.
I mean,
To have perfect gravity, it would have to be a sphere because then it pulls from all directions equally. If it's a cube, then like the corners would have less gravity because it's not being pulled in as much.
yeah, kind of.
That's why
But-
Earth is a sphere.
Yeah, but it's not a perfect sphere.
Earth?
No, it has higher elevations, lower elevations.
Yeah, and that's what causes the
cracks.
poles and the spheres and the magnetic north and magnetic south.
Oh no, we're getting into science. This is dangerous territory here.
But if it's a cube, well, we would have 8 poles.
Well, and the reason I throw it out there because it is just a silly question, and it's just in like, you know, everybody's saying. So if we get to this heaven, and anybody who listens who knows science is going to hate me for this, but would science change in this new heaven, this new earth?
Heaven is a tesseract. Think about that.
Uh-oh, here comes Thanos.
But I'm just, you know, you think about this. There's all these different concepts of heaven, and nobody pinpoints it. I mean, I want you to think about this. We talked about a hell a lot, and I think hell is talked about more than heaven is talked about in today's world, especially in the, our Christian corners.
Well, I think it's talked about more in Scripture, too.
No, it's not. Heaven's mentioned more.
Well, the kingdom of heaven. Yeah, it depends on what you're defining as heaven at that point.
Well, I mean, okay, of course, which version you kind of look at, but I know hell is referred to a lot less than heaven's referred to throughout the entire Bible if you use the King James Scripture.
That's something I would agree with.
Yeah.
I don't know about Justin, but
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I'll get back to you next week, but...
Or you could just look at the screen in front of you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was scaring me for a second. I thought we lost connection again.
No, you didn't lose connection.
You're frozen right now.
Yeah, but in this little area right here, the words that are mentioned are way more boasting towards heaven than towards hell.
Okay. I mean, I didn't see it, but...
I'm sorry. But, I mean,
No
you're
worries.
talking like 500 plus heaven, less than 100 hell.
Oh, okay. Where... Because that can get into heaven... Because when the Old Testament refers to heaven...
Yeah.
Or the heavens, it's Hashemayim.
Right.
Which it's just referring to not Earth.
Exactly.
The cosmos. Mm-hmm. That's... I would hesitate to say that that's referring to the afterlife heaven.
Right.
That we know.
Right.
But the dwelling place of God, it also talks about that.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
Old Testament. So
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of... Why not both?
Yeah.
No, I'm down. I always thought it was that Jesus talked more about hell than he did talk about heaven, but it's kind of like throwing it out there. You have to kind of decide on how you interpret certain things as well as, I guess,
Right.
So, but I think we, as a culture, especially Christian cultures, spend a lot more time talking about hell than we do talk about heaven.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, it depends on what
Yeah.
camp you're in.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends. It's
What camp are we talking about?
Well, I mean, you have the evangelical, and this is, again, painting with very broad strokes here. You have the evangelical fundamentalist right, which a lot of the motive for evangelism is hell. I mean, we talked about this, last week and the week before. That's a huge motivation for them, is the concept of hell. And so it's all about, it's fire and brimstone and hell. You don't want to go to hell. You don't want to suffer, and all that. On the other hand, there's this group of evangelicals that heaven is the emphasis, and how glorious heaven will be. And it's always in contrasting to the, tortures and hellishness of hell. But especially when you get into, and we'll probably talk about this in a moment, but, all those books written about heaven and what it's going to be like and all that stuff, which I think are totally
You're headed down the right path because we will be getting there soon.
Yeah, and about how they see heaven and saw Jesus and all that stuff, and I'm very hesitant about that sort of material.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let me throw out another one. I mean, since we're all over the place, all dogs go to heaven.
Oh, animals.
Are you saying do animals pass away in this life and
Yes.
No. My answer is no.
I would be a hopeful yes.
Yeah.
A hopeful yes, or I believe from what I've read, yes.
Well, that's kind of difficult to say.
Yeah, you can't know. It's
Yeah,
like-
exactly. I mean, you were talking about, was life breathed into animals the same way humans were? Mm-hmm. No, we have the image of God, but animals do have a breath, which is a characteristic of a soul. So maybe I would take J.P. Moreland's stance on animals having a lesser soul. Therefore, animals are not capable of sin. Therefore, they would have to join us in a perfect creation. It would be more of a logic thing than a scripture-based thing entirely.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
But the two aren't mutually exclusive.
How very Aristotelian of you.
What about, Justin, what would you... I mean, you say yeah.
I mean, I would be a hopeful yeah. I mean, I go back to, that Christ will reconcile all things to himself. And when it's like all, it's like, okay, what does it all mean there? And I still don't know the answer to that. But I mean, hopefully, I'd love to see my pets in heaven. Like, that's a great idea. I don't want to use it as a sort of false comfort of, oh, I'll see, Spot in heaven one day, because, I might not. And I think that if we get to heaven and our animals aren't there, I don't think it'll be a thing where, like, oh, dang it, he's not here. But
okay,
it'll be more of a thing where,
right. Well, and I think for me, it's I'm going to bank a little more with Keith on this one, just because I think about all the animals, because it's not just and this is where I'm going with it. Follow me. Most people go, my pets.
No.
Right, exactly.
And if
your pets are just a tiny fraction of all of animals.
Exactly. And that's where I think people get messed up, because I asked them, I was like, so, okay, they go, well, animals, our dog's going to go to heaven when he died. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Well, why not? And I'm like, well, okay, so, but if your dog goes to heaven, then that snake you hate goes to heaven. Because when that snake passes, then it's an animal. It's an animal as your dog's an animal. So that snake will go to heaven too. Well, oh no, God doesn't like snakes. No, he never said that. Those dinosaurs are in heaven. Those, I meant, because I believe there were dinosaurs.
I hope so. They're skeletons.
But you think about that, and it's like, and that's, I think that's why I draw the line, because it's for me too, David. It's not about reading. There's nothing in Scripture that really points one way or the other. I think.
Yeah.
And I just, for my logical concern is like, there's a lot of animals that have been and is and will be.
That's one of my thoughts too. Not that there's a limit that it's not possible. I mean, obviously anything is possible in this situation. But when you think about all of the animals that have ever existed on the earth, do you know how many that would be?
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
Maybe it'll be like the Ark, and there's just 2 of everything except for humans. Then there's.
But see, but that would still defeat the logic of, And I use the logic of, or I use the phrase, all dogs go to heaven, but it's just that's the concept. Like, if one animal goes, then all must go. Yeah. That's how I see it.
And see, my thought is, I mean, I actually think there will be animals in heaven personally.
I do too.
But I don't think that they're animals that will have lived with us. I think they'll be different.
Wait, what?
No, I believe
I'm with Chris here.
That's a little exclusivist.
Yeah.
Well, I also don't think that animals have souls. So we differ on that a little bit.
Can you explain what you mean by animals that aren't with us?
Okay, so you know how, like, you have cats. There's cats in this house.
Don't care about them.
Okay,
they don't have to go to heaven.
There may be cats in
they're
heaven,
all going to hell.
but not your cats. Not cats that were created and lived in this
Gotcha.
earth.
So just a cat, but not anyone we've ever met. So kind of like God's like, see, I made a cat one time, and this is an example of a cat.
Like new cats, not necessarily
because
different
really,
cats.
Those
Could
cats,
be different cats.
Those cats can go to hell, and I won't care. They are the worst creatures I've ever had to live with. If I wake up one more time with a paw to the mouth just because I have my mouth open, it's going out the window.
I used to love when cats would wake me up, but
yeah, she still has her claws. So
well, not smack in the face though.
That's just great. Yeah, the thing for me is not that, and animals is always going to be a big discussion when we talk about heaven. And I kind of agree with Keith there. I think there's animals in heaven. I just don't know what that looks like, because I believe that, animals are a creation of God. I just don't know if it's going to be every single animal from all of time.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of see where Keith's like. I kind of think his idea makes the most sense with the way I think, because I don't think he would take all animals, because that's a little, it's a lot of room, but then again, heaven's supposed to be huge anyway. Yeah.
Well,
I was thinking
Earth
more
is only 6,000 years old. It's not that bad.
It's still pretty bad,
dude. Humans, come on. There's been 107 billion deaths so far. Come on.
No, I know, and I think there's billions and billions of years old, so that just makes the problem worse.
I don't. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care how old the Earth is.
No, but
when I think about animals, science tells me that there's been a lot of daggone animals.
Oh yeah.
There's
been way too many.
And here's my thing: we're not just talking about animals. Does that move into bugs and insects?
I mean, they're technically animals.
I mean, so I mean everything.
Bacteria?
So basically, we're going to have mosquitoes. Now, look, there is no such thing as a heaven if there's mosquito in heaven. I'm sorry, that's just not God's perfect plan.
They're perfected.
Yeah, they're perfected animals. They won't leech off of us.
Whatever, fleas, mosquitoes.
A perfect leech is still a leech.
I mean, it has its characteristics. I mean, that's like somebody saying that the dinosaurs existed in the garden, but yet they didn't eat meat.
Yeah, no. And see, another interesting thing, since you're pointing that out, is I think there will be food too.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think we will necessarily need the sustenance.
There won't be no KFC, but there'll be
but-
some awesome like manna and stuff, right?
Well, see, I think we might eat meat too. So that's another reason I think that there's animals.
Can we bring Popeyes?
mean,
Why would we eat meat?
Why not?
As a vegetarian, I'd like to hear this.
Yeah.
If Peter
As a
can
carnivore,
eat meat,
I'd
if
like to
Peter
hear
can
your
eat
reason.
meat, why would we not be able to eat meat? I mean, if we can eat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that we can because I don't know for sure. I have nothing to base that off of. But
Yeah.
I mean,
And of course, we're speaking of, like Justin said earlier, we're speaking from, humanistic point of views and perspectives. So whatever your, and I don't want to call it a presupposition here, but whatever your favor is to things, you kind of think like that. I mean, if I'm a man on this earth who loves meat, I would hope if I'm eating in heaven, there's meat.
if God has ordained that we can pretty much eat it all, then I mean, it can't be wrong to be eating that meat.
I mean, if sex
Depends
is
how we made the
excluded, then
meat.
eating meat should be excluded too,
Well,
man.
Yeah, you can't
but-
have it both ways.
But see,
Hey,
I'll be missing out on one.
how about you vegetarians leave the carnivores alone?
Look, Justin's not a vegetarian.
Just a
No,
bandwagoner.
I'm close though, but I'm not quite.
Just
vegan?
Vegan's even further.
Vegan's further away.
I don't know. I just know I don't like either one of those groups because they don't eat bacon.
I don't eat bacon really. Think about it. Anyways,
But you eat steak, so you're okay to me.
but when you think about those things, I mean, you think about food. I mean, is food the word of God? I mean, I hate to giggle at it, but I mean,
Wait, did you just ask, is food the word of God?
yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's like, is it just
that-
the word of God?
is that all we need for sustenance?
Yeah, I mean, or is it they're like, are we going to really eat in heaven? I mean, these are good questions. I mean,
Oh, okay.
you see what I'm saying?
No, I got what you're saying now.
Yeah. I mean, are we going to have some good food?
This is true.
Are we going to have banquets with? I mean, okay.
We'll be at the table.
So,
We
yeah.
will be at the table.
That would be awesome. If
Say
you could
what?
have a big old feast every. Like, I don't know.
And that's what I'm saying. How are you going to
See,
have a feast without the pig?
I mean, I kind of lean towards that way. I mean,
Yeah.
from what I read in scripture,
Like Valhalla, but Jesus.
I don't know how I feel about the whole meat thing.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to be brought to a state of perfection, like it was in the garden had.
What
a
is
plant fruit
required
based
for
by
meat?
diet.
What is required for meat?
Chicken.
Death.
And if death is defeated, finally, and thrown in the lake of fire,
Interesting.
But what if God's just got a big freezer of meat that nothing died from?
Great point.
Or all the things that died on Earth that he didn't need in
I can
heaven.
get behind it.
Look, I'm saying this. I want to be, God didn't have to kill anything to have the steaks already there.
Dude, you know
That is
what?
true. He can just make them.
I'll back it.
Sure,
Turn
whatever.
water into
Why not?
wine. I'm sure he can turn bread into meat.
Look, guys and girls, I know y'all listen to us. Like, what in the world are these guys talking about? Let's just have fun for a second. Let's just talk about things and just speculate, because that's what heaven is. It's speculation, man. The only thing we know for sure as Christians, and I say for sure and very lightly because we really don't even know that for sure, is that we'll be in the presence of our Creator. That's what we believe, and that's the whole point to it. All this other stuff is just like Justin said earlier, or was it Justin or David? Just said it's just the icing on the cake.
Oh yeah, that was definitely me.
That was you.
Yeah, that's
credit
the
for
real.
that one.
I was
that's the
thinking
real
of it, though.
question. Is there going to be cake?
Pie.
Pie. I go with Chris. It's gonna be pie. Get rid of cake. Cake's not perfect.
I don't know, man.
Pie can be made out
Good
of bread
cake
and fruit.
is great.
Cake,
And
you
now we're
need to
back
have
to
processed sugar and all that extra stuff.
Well, it's. I mean, we talk about you talk about food, you talk about sex, you talk about relationships, you talk about animals in heaven, you talk about all these things, and it's like, but all of it's speculation. We don't know anything truly what it's going to look like there. And, next week we're going to get in, way more in depth about the theological points of heaven and talk more. And we'll probably get back into some of those isms we talked about at hell as well, because they kind of, play a big part in that. And I think for us, talking about these different things. And now here's my thing. Okay. All right. So all these organic things we talked about, food and animals and sex and relationships and things like that. What about technology? How do you think technology of today or moving forward will fit into a heaven of, that perfect place?
Technology.
Maybe heaven is the Jetsons.
We're finally going to get our flying cars and hoverboards.
Yeah, I was having a
Floating houses
conversation.
inside of our cube of no gravity.
I've had a conversation with our good friend Wesley about that before, and there's a lot of perspectives that say that technology is going to be pretty crazy. Like, it's going to be different, but extensive.
Like Ex Machina?
I haven't seen Ex Machina, so I'm not exactly
Androids.
sure.
But, not for humans being made out of robots, but like that crazy extensive thing that we aren't capable of, but,
No, think about having the perfect mind, what you could do with that.
Well, what?
Like, just,
I can't even comprehend the perfect mind.
Exactly.
How can I know what I'm going to do with it?
but if we can do what we can do here, a lot of people think that.
Isn't theoretically and what's the word I'm thinking of? Theologically, having the full understanding of God, having a full use of our minds.
Not necessarily,
Well, isn't
but I don't know what you're saying exactly there.
well? You said having the perfect mind and being able to use it entirely. But
Oh, I didn't add that second part.
well, that's kind of what I would imagine. If you had a perfect brain, you could use the whole thing. It'd be kind of crap if you had a perfect brain. You can only use 10% still.
Yeah, but a perfect mind, I think, would be different than just fully using the minds we have now.
Yeah.
It's be kind of a different thing.
It's fully knowing.
That's
Getting back to the thing about technology and what's technology going to be like in heaven, my initial reaction is like, well, there's not going to be.
wait. There's no
'cause-
Wi-Fi in heaven.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because what is the point of technology? What is the point of making more and more advanced tools to accomplish tasks better? It's to make work easier. It is to make accomplishing tasks much easier, and to communicate and do things like that on a much easier and much more widespread way. Will we need that with our perfected bodies and with our minds and with being fully in God in a perfected state? Will we need tools like that?
Okay. But that's great. You talk about no technology, but I'm kind of disappointed, Justin,
Why?
because there won't be any cars.
That is true.
What is the point of having cars?
To
Because they're
have
awesome.
fun. I don't give a crap about...
Presence of God. Why
right.
would you need cars?
You get
Because
behind
he could make you because you would be able to afford and have that beautiful Skyline,
But is
that
that
perfect Bugatti Veyron, that lovely Pagani Zonda Roadster F.
I think, Justin, you just need to find your favorite car and get behind the wheel of it and tell yourself that it wasn't made by divine intervention.
Oh my gosh! But see, those are the things I think about because I'm thinking of it humanistically. I'm thinking of it from a very human perspective.
And my thoughts are, if we don't have technology, any technology, then what is the baseline?
Okay.
Because, technology is a pretty broad term.
Well, that's true.
Shovels are
describes-
technology.
Shovel is a technology.
Yeah. So
Oh, that was pretty
We said the
good.
same thing simultaneously. My mind just blew up. I have no percentage.
but see, that's the point.
Yeah.
Forks are technology.
Right.
Clothes are technology, technically.
Like where we're going
Exactly.
with this.
Well, but
So-
but that's how I feel. I think we'll all be naked eating with our hands.
Now,
That's honestly-
we very well may be, but how are we preparing that food?
Yeah.
Or are we preparing that food?
And that's
And
God.
see, and my point is, if there is technology, would it just be the technology that happens would it be the technology that humanity has invented up until the point heaven than meets Earth, or will it continue to progress? Because I don't see the need for why technology would progress.
Okay,
I see that.
But like, okay, New Jerusalem is described as a city.
Yes.
As a city, and it sounds very much like it has buildings, and it has roads, and it probably has viaducts and
That's a viaduct.
well, it'd be like a stream,
An aqueduct.
Like an
water,
aqueduct?
where water moves. Yes. So, like, I mean, there is technology there.
Yeah.
So, where's the limit? Are we
Wait.
going to be limited specifically?
I want to go back to something real quick. Didn't we say New Earth and New Jerusalem wouldn't have water?
It doesn't have seas.
Seas.
It doesn't have seas. There is no sea. No more sea.
Okay. Never
Water
mind.
now,
I'm good.
maybe.
Clear that up.
And see, that's my thing is the speculation that we get into technology is, do we have, like Justin was saying, do we have what we have here? Is it what, was the baseline for whatever was in Israel's day, when Moses was crossing the desert, with his group of crazy Israelites, is that the baseline for technology? Or are we overcomplicating all this and heaven is heaven and we are just naked and God just poofs everything I Dream of Jeannie style right in front of us?
I mean, that's possible.
Perhaps.
And I think y'all have a point. I mean, technology is forks and fire and things of that nature.
Buildings
well, I don't say
roads.
fire technically is a technology since,
Nature. Fire is technically nature. We just made it into a tool.
Yeah. We found a way to harvest fire.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I'm thinking like, what was it? It's like the Pirates Voyage shows. You go down there and you watch the pirate show and you eat with your hands. I'm like, yay, no forks, just napkins and hands.
Don't forget the wet naps.
See, yeah, napkins are technology too.
Yeah.
We developed those over time.
Yeah. I mean, so everything that we use, like Justin says, to make jobs, that make things easier is technology. So what's the point of technology?
Right.
Man, I think the point of technology is not just to make jobs easier, but to give us a greater satisfaction of what we're doing.
Right, but that still gets to the point. Why would you need that?
Well, and I agree.
You'll be fully satisfied in God.
No, I agree with that. I think that's why we talk about relationships and we talk about sex and we talk about food and we talk about animals in heaven and all this. I think we're only trying to do that because we're emotionally connected to something.
Yeah.
Right.
So therefore, we miss the point of being emotionally connected to Christ or to God, which is the main point of heaven, to dwell with Him. And that's all that's really going to matter, because our substance will be God. Our substance will be the light from that Christ gives, because He is the Lamb. Those are the things that I see. Because when I think about heaven and all the things we're talking about, that city that we talk about, New Jerusalem, it's been put there by Christ. It's been put there by God. He has put that together for us. So there's no need for technology to continue on. There's no need for technology such as lights, because He is the light. I mean, it radiates through everything. If our substance is God and we sit at the banquet feast with Him, He has put it there for us to have. If we eat with forks, that's only because God decided that we need to have some type of civilized manners. I don't know, but I think we as humans overcomplicate it because we're emotionally connected to something here. Like I say, cars. I love cars. I love driving cars, especially if I could ever get behind the wheels of cars I truly love to drive. I'm emotionally connected to that. But you can take every stinking computer and burn them daggone things, because I'm tired of dealing with them. I work on them all the time, and I could go without it all I want. But give me a car, give me a basketball and a hoop, and is that heaven to play basketball all the time? But that's just there it is. Ball is life. But I think that's where, as humans, we kind of get a little sidetracked when we think about heaven, because we're emotionally connected to something on earth that is so less than what God is. I love my wife, but I can never love my wife like I'm going to be able to love God and know that love from Him in heaven. So relationships will become, it's almost like pointless things to talk about, but they're fun to talk about. because
Right.
at the end of the day, it's just as a Christian, and we will I think in a couple episodes we're going to discuss other faiths' afterlife theories.
That's right.
But
I'm looking forward to that.
me and you both. But today we're speaking from a Christian worldview and perspective. And at the end of the day, I don't know about you guys, but I can only see one thing. My whole point for heaven is to leave this earth that has been polluted and just consumed by I don't know if you want to call it evil or just the bad stuff, the hurt, the heartache, the turmoil, the strife, the murder, the lying, the stealing, all those things that are inside me too, and get to this place that is perfection. That it's so perfect that you don't even realize what was. It's so perfect you don't even realize who was or who people were. You only know perfection in front of God. You fully know Him. And that's all that matters.
Right.
I mean, what else matters at the end of the day when you're in that position? I mean, what does it matter if every animal in the world is there with you?
Right.
It doesn't, because you probably won't even notice them. I mean, animals, look, T-Rex. Woo, you scary. The Lord God Almighty. I mean, come on. I mean, we think about these things, but I mean, and there's so much fun to talk about, but when you get down to the end of the day, it's just God, man.
Yep.
Did that sound too hippie? It's just
God, man.
Yes.
Nah, man. You're just like at one.
And you will be.
Maybe not me.
But see, that's the problem. And you that's my thing. I mean, here, let me speak the gospel. No. Let's evangelize to Chris. No,
Evangelize.
But I think for me, and I'll finish up. Let me finish up what I think about today.
All right.
Heaven is a place we can't describe,
Right.
because our minds are so finite that, as a Christian, I believe it's impossible to even fathom the smallest detail of what heaven's really going to be like. John gave us, I guess, descriptive visions in Revelation, but that's coming from a language that, I mean, some people try to understand, but is it really what he said? I mean, is it a literal thing that he's talking about there? Is it literally a cube measured this, this, and this? Or is this just how he had to describe it? And we don't know. And I'll tell you that I'm okay not knowing. Because if I can just believe in God and say, okay, God, one day because of your son, I'll be there, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I can live with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm in agreement with you.
Yay!
Yeah, I mean, I think with heaven we can speculate all day long, and it is fun in a way, just to ask all these questions that we really can't know really what the full answers to them are. I agree with you in the concept that we can't get, a slight... Okay, I disagree with you instead. I think that we can get glimpses of heaven here on earth. But they are just the smallest tasting of what heaven is like. I agree with what you're getting at there, that it's almost incomparable to what heaven will actually be like. But I think that we can here on earth have that sort of foretaste and have that sort of knowledge of what heaven could be like.
Of glory
Even
divine,
if it's the
you mean?
smallest, tiniest little idea
Okay.
of what it could be like. I think that we can. Whether that's through nature or through meditating on scripture or through an experience we have with God, with the divine, that is a taste in itself.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with you in that. What I'm saying is to understand heaven. I mean, to know what it's
Yeah.
like fully.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I agree that's my chair. I'm sorry if you're hearing this nice squeaky noise on the podcast. It's my chair. It's time for some WD-40. But what I'm saying, I mean, I understand being in those moments with God, in those moments where you feel like you're almost in that perfect oneness with God here on the planet. And there's moments in nature, in that creation point where you can see God's glory through those things. Yeah, but I mean, beyond that is what I was really going for. I mean, the fullness of heaven.
Gotcha.
Because I agree with you there.
The literal place.
Yeah, that thing that the people in the, you know, heaven is for real and all that crap. I'm sorry, I hate to call it crap. But look, we did an article on that, Justin, about what happened with that guy and how it was all pretty much just a made-up lie.
Yeah,
you know?
Which we might have our own separate podcast about, like, near-death experiences and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a good point. But
because I have a lot to talk about there, because I've had stuff like that happen. So.
Haven't anybody else? Anybody else want to add to the final points tonight?
No, I like the lightheartedness of this one. We'll get more into theology next week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks. Because every last 2 weeks, you guys have gone way over my head.
Well, I just hope, and I'll say this, finish up. I hope everybody's there with us. Yeah.
Universalist.
Hopeful Christian. I'm a hopeful Christian universalist.
No, I've told you that too. You know, I'd like to believe that everyone would be there with us. That's a nice thought.
Yeah, I agree.
At least to me.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I hope you're all there with us. And if you're not, I won't know it.
Yeah.
And saying that, we'll be back in a minute to kind of finish up the show. And hopefully you'll enjoy that Keith is back with us. And we're back, as always, for the last time. But that was Forever at Last with Shoreline.
Yes, that's a band I've been listening to a lot recently. They're with Victory Records, and their new album just came out, so definitely check it out. I really, really like it. I've been listening to it nonstop over the past few days. It reminds me more of kind of the early, mid-2000s kind of pop-punk vibe sort of deal.
Yeah.
And I've always been a huge fan of female-fronted bands, so...
We know.
Yeah, so definitely go check them out. I think they're really awesome. So
I'm with you. I love female fronted bands. Just I don't know what it is, and I love all female bands. Like, was it Ilya? Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I love
their
Ilya.
new stuff is also really good.
Yeah, it is. It's we might have to play them next
I
week.
don't think you like all female fronted bands.
Rock bands.
Okay, about to say I don't think Dixie Chicks would be on your list of likes.
Actually, their cover of Landslide was actually pretty good.
It was really good.
That was really good.
Anyways,
but like we were saying, Forever at Last, the album is called Ghosts Again. Go check it out.
Yeah, check them out. It's good stuff. Now, last week we did a little Star Wars reaction to the new trailer.
That's right.
It was beautiful.
It was really beautiful.
And I must say, I've been kind of consumed with Star Wars, well, since I was born, but not really, because that would be a lie, because Star Wars wasn't. Anyways, But we missed something last week, Justin.
Yes, we did.
And I hate that we missed it.
We missed it dearly.
And he's back.
He is back.
And he brought his own story.
He did. I am so proud of you. You're growing up.
Keith's wife sent it to me.
Can't even take credit.
So here's the thing we've all grown to love.
Still going. So this is a very, very appropriate news story.
It is.
For this week, because if you're listening to this, it's Thursday, and just 2 days from today, tonight will be Halloween.
Time to get spoopy.
And this is an interesting article. We won't go into necessarily the credibility of it just because it's fun.
I have no idea what this is going to be. So
but just try to avoid that and just kind of listen to the story and enjoy it.
Put all critical thinking skills aside.
Yes.
Very much so.
Do not worry whether this actually happened. Okay. Headline from Now 8 News, which is apparently first in news. Texas man found eating teenage boy in haunted house attraction. Texas. Fright junkies discovered more than they bargained for at a haunted house attraction over the weekend when they stumbled upon what they thought was part of the show. The Fright Night Haunted Dreams attraction in Austin, Texas brought in hundreds of people looking for a good scare this Halloween season. But on Friday night, this haunted dream maze turned into reality for one teenage boy. Eyewitnesses say they were halfway through this macabre haunted house when they came across a scene with a crazy-looking man biting into his victim that lay in a dirty bathtub. At first, it was just another scene within the haunted maze, but as they looked closer, they saw the young boy that was screaming for his life was really in excruciating pain. For one witness, Paul Calloway, it was much too real. I don't think I could put into words what I saw. It will haunt my dreams forever, said Calloway. This sick bleep man bit into this dude's arm, and I could literally see tendons being pulled out, literally. The screams were unlike anything I had ever heard before. This boy was in some serious pain. I mean, imagine being eaten alive. According to reports, once the group of fright goers realized this was not part of the haunted house, they decided to take action. Mike Sullivan, a Texas gun owner with concealed weapons permit, said he had no second thoughts about taking action immediately. I unholstered my weapon and drew on this creep, said Sullivan. I got about 1 foot away from him and shot him once in the leg, and again in the shoulder, just enough to make him stop until police arrived. Police and emergency response teams arrived on the scene within minutes, but it was too late for the young teenage boy, whose name has not yet been released. He was dead when the medical staff arrived. We do know that he was a 17-year-old from Austin, Texas area. Officers took the 28-year-old Philip Harris into custody, where he is currently being held without bond in solitary confinement at an Austin, Texas jail, under the close supervision of officers and medical staff. The haunted attraction has been closed indefinitely.
Alright, so again, I have some questions here. First and foremost, apparently this kid was awake when he was being eaten.
Yes.
How the crap did this guy get him to sit still long enough to chew him?
He ate his tendons.
How did he get the first bite in without this 17-year-old beating the crap out of him?
I smell something stinky.
Shh. We don't know. This could be real.
Secondly, what kind of jail has solitary confinement?
Oh, you can. They got small cells.
Are you questioning the journalistic integrity of now8news.com?
Isn't that a fake news site?
I mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to write a story, at least make people somewhat believe it.
I think it's totally believable. People eat people.
People eat...
It happens. There's
Bath
that dude
salts.
that got his face eaten in
That's
Florida.
exactly what I said. I saw that guy's face. I said, that's got to be bath
I don't know why
salts.
I'm laughing. That's a true story.
Bath salts. It is a true story.
I remember when they first started and everyone in the military was like, yeah, don't do salts and don't do spice because we don't want you eating people on bridges.
We're in the Army now.
That's an interesting article there, Keith. People eating people. Kind of just...
People eating people, man. It happens.
Do you ever think, and since this story is about things eating people eating people, you know, and everybody, well, I'm not going to say everybody loves The Walking Dead, but I love The Walking Dead. And I'm in season 5. So whatever Chris is all pissed off about, he can just go ahead and get rid of, because there's no spoilers for me because I'm on episode 15 of season 5.
They killed Shane.
Fresh salt.
Oh my gosh, watch out, dude. I'm just going to tell you, if you haven't seen it, the mom's dead. She's so irrelevant to me, I can't even remember her name.
Lori.
The worst actress ever in the show.
That's the only reason I like Carl. He killed the 2 people I didn't like the most.
Carl.
That kills people, Carl.
But
No, what about The Walking Dead?
we speculated a lot about heaven tonight.
Yeah.
Do you think a zombie apocalypse is possible?
Bath
It's
salts
possible,
are
yes.
real, man.
Well, I mean,
That sounds real.
bath salts don't reanimate a dead corpse.
Hey, man, they don't have to be dead, dude.
I mean,
Saying.
we
There are other zombie stories that
Bible
don't
question.
necessarily-
Bible
Yes.
question. Okay.
Bible question.
Bible question. Here we go.
Demon shenanigans.
Not demon
That's a
shenanigans.
lot of demons.
Okay, so when the whole thing with Christ happened, you know,
Yes.
it talks about in the Bible where like the dead came up and walked and saw people and stuff.
Yep.
Are we talking like full on zombies? Or are we talking like people?
Or like talking about dancing skeletons like in the old Disney clip.
Skeletons.
Probably not that.
I think it's kind of crazy because those are some of the verses people overlook in the Bible.
I don't know,
That's
man.
true.
But if zombie apocalypse can happen, part of me really hope they do while I'm still alive because I really want to see how I feel like I would come out on top. I don't know why.
Just man, if you see Bill Murray coming at you, don't shoot him.
Don't shoot.
Talk first. If he doesn't respond, give him like a 2-foot clearance before you just blow him away. Don't kill him. Poor Bill. You don't want to be that guy that goes down in human history of the last of humans that still killed Bill Murray.
Oh my god, I shot Bill Murray. Snowballs. I hate
But
snowballs.
we're talking about this article about a guy eating another guy. Whether it's real or not, you can take what you want
It can happen,
with that. But I thought more so where you're going with that was, and this might get dark, but do you think you could eat another person?
Yes.
If I absolutely had to survive, not just for fun.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it for fun. That'd be kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But
No, I hope not just for fun.
if I had to do it to survive, and they were a willing participant, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, man. I can't
Willing
do that.
participant. They, all right.
Getting in some Donner
As
Party
in,
stuff.
let's put it this way: we're both trying to live, and they know they couldn't eat me, which I really have going for me because there's not a lot of meat here. They're like, "Yeah, dude, just put me out and eat me." Of course, I would eat them.
I don't know, man. Because I would just be like, that's a person.
No, after they're dead, it's meat. It's a carcass.
It's
I don't know,
interesting.
man.
I'll just leave it at this. Yes, I could. I mean, let's just be honest.
I think I've already eaten
He
things worse than
knows.
human.
I mean, if there's no situational puts, if it comes down to it at the end and it's survival of the fittest and none of this
Darwinism.
really matters, then it is what it is.
I'll eat a human being. I won't eat a baby though.
But we won't be eating human beings because we're not cannibals. Well, I'm not a cannibal, but
Never say never.
I'm not saying that I couldn't, because I think survival really takes a person over.
Could you eat yourself? Could you cut off a limb and eat yourself?
That's interesting. I don't know if I could stand the pain.
I think that's where you have to like actually ask yourself, if I could eat another person, could I eat myself?
Has speculation gone far enough tonight? That is the question of the show. But Justin, I do want to say this. We was talking about bullying in the beginning, and we were talking about how people treated us. And for all those people that were bullied to us, this is what me and Justin think about you.
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs and the homosexuals. Amen.
That's the homeschool you was raised in.
Aww.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just messed up everything over here. But anyways, guys and girls, we appreciate it. Justin and David, it's been a great show tonight. I've just had fun just sitting around chilling and doing what we do because that's how we do it. Like I was saying, we had fun tonight. It was just good fun. The guys in Boone in the cold weather. Us here in the mild weather. Because it's not particularly warm here today.
No, it feels great.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. But we want to say thanks for listening to the show. Hope you have a great Halloween. Yes, I'm a Christian and I love Halloween. So stick that up your pipe and smoke it. Woo! And saying all that, I know heaven didn't do much for it tonight. And I know the second part of the show tonight, or the key story time, didn't do much with it. But if you do anything, go back to the beginning, and I want you to remember this. Well, it is what it is. Just remember that people are not projects. They're people just like you and me. So love them like you love yourself. And guys and girls, this was a short episode, so get ready for next week.
Thank you for listening to the Forgetting Walls podcast. If you're subscribing to us on iTunes, leave us a rating to help us spread the word about this podcast. Remember, the only way this works is if you share your story. So be sure to visit the website and leave us a comment at forgettingwalls.com, or find us on Twitter at forgettingwalls and facebook.com/forgettingwalls.
Peace!
I find your lack of faith disturbing.